What if the pain you are carrying in silence is not God's mistake, but His choice? Because there's a huge difference between suffering alone and being chosen to carry something alone. And I need you to hear this before you keep scrolling, before another night of trying to explain to someone how you feel and leaving this conversation more empty than you entered it. The pain that no one around you can understand, that weight you wake up carrying, that feeling that you're going through something that the people closest to you just can't see, can't scale, can't keep up with. You've already tried to explain. Have you tried to find the right words? But somehow the words come out and arrive on the other side empty, smaller than what you're feeling inside. And with that comes a question that few have the courage to ask out loud. God, why did you give me a pain that no one can carry with me? Today I want to look at this question head on, because the answer is not what you think. 1. God does not distribute pain at random. This is the first thing you need to understand. There is no random suffering in the lives of those who belong to God. This doesn't mean that all pain is good or that you need to smile while you bleed. It means that God is too sovereign to waste anything that passes through your life. Romans 8:28 does not say that all things are pleasant. It says that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. All things, including the one that is consuming you now. But here's what most people don't realize. Some pain is calibrated. Not in the cruel sense of the word, in the sense that God knows the capacity that He has placed within you, and sometimes He allows you to carry something that requires exactly that capacity. Something that a different person, at a different stage, with a different story, would not be able to sustain in the same way. This is not cruelty, it's trust. 2. Misunderstood pain has a function that shared pain does not. Think with me. When you go through something that everyone around you goes through, human comfort can reach you. Someone says, "I understand," and actually understands. You divide the weight and it becomes smaller. That is good. God created community for exactly this. But there is another category of pain. The pain that when you try to describe, the people around you shake their heads with good intention, but their eyes are empty. Because they were never there. Because the pain you are carrying is too specific, too deep, too foreign for their vocabulary. And when human comfort can't reach you, what happens? You stop looking for horizontal comfort and start looking for vertical comfort. You learn to pray in a way that someone who has never been pushed to that limit will never need to learn. You develop a dependence on God that does not grow on easy soil. It only grows when there's nothing else beneath you but Him. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul says that he repeatedly asked God to remove suffering from his life. The response he received was not removal. It was, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Not by force, in weakness. In the exact place where you feel most alone and most misunderstood. 3. Isolation from pain is not abandonment, it's preparation. When Moses was in the desert before leading the Exodus, he was alone. Years. Far from Egypt, far from the power he knew, far from anything that could confirm that he had a future. The desert is not where God forgets people. The desert is where God forms people He cannot form elsewhere. Before God reveals someone publicly, He almost always forms them privately. And private training seems like abandonment to those who are in the middle of it. You look at your pain and think, no one sees it, nobody understands, nobody can keep up. And this loneliness in itself hurts as much as the original pain. But what if the point of isolation wasn't to punish you, but to protect you from the wrong kind of comfort? The type that resolves the surface without touching the root. The kind that makes you feel better for an hour and leaves the problem intact inside. God knows you deep enough to know that you needed more than comfort. You needed transformation. And transformation doesn't happen in crowds. It happens in silence, in pain that no one saw, in the early hours of the morning when you were alone with him without having anything else to offer other than your honesty. 4. The pain you carry now is building what you will offer later. There is no testimony without passage. There is no spiritual authority over something you have never crossed. And when God chooses to put you on a path of pain that few know about, it is often because He is preparing you. I walk you to talk to people who are also going to walk through this same place and will have no one to guide them. The pain that isolates you today is the map you will offer to another human being tomorrow. That doesn't make it any less real now. It doesn't mean you need to pretend it hurts less, but it does mean that it is not without purpose. Psalm 34:18 says that the Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Not after the pain passes, while she's still there. He's not watching you from afar hoping you'll get better. He's close, specifically around the broken ones, specifically present in the place where you most feel that no one can accompany you. 5. You don't need people to understand it for God to use it. This is perhaps the most liberating truth of everything we are talking about today. You've spent too much time trying to find the right words to make those around you understand what you're feeling. And when they don't understand, you start to question whether what you feel is real. If you are exaggerating, if there's something wrong with you. It does not have to. The problem is not that your pain is too small to be taken seriously. The problem is that it is too big to fit into the vocabulary of those who have never been there. And God doesn't need others to understand for what you're experiencing to have purpose. It does not work with audience approval. He works with sovereignty. Isaiah 55:8 makes it clear. His thoughts are not your thoughts. His ways are not your ways. What He is doing in your life doesn't need to make sense to those around you. It just needs to make sense to Him. And one day, later, He will show you the complete map, and you will understand why the pain came that way. Why did she have that weight? Why no one around him could keep up? Because she wasn't for them. It was for you. And what God will build with it will be much greater than you can imagine now. So if you are in this pain today, if you are carrying something too heavy to put into words, I want you to carry something under your arm from here. You have not been forgotten. You are not being punished. And you are not alone in this pain, even when it feels like you are. You are being formed, in silence, in depth, for something that doesn't exist yet, but that is already being built within you. Trust Him even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because sometimes the greatest proof that God trusts you is exactly the weight He allowed to reach you.